Today on We the People, we're debating, is a middle ground possible? Is a peace initiative with the Maoists either possible or desirable? That's our subject for the day. Let me start with Medha Patkar. Medha ji, I know that you have often condemned violence unequivocally, but one of the things that bothers a lot of people is that not everybody who calls themselves an activist today is willing to condemn violence. Every time the subject of violence comes up, they respond by talking about the violence of the state. Do you accept that there is actually no sane discussion possible unless there is an absolute, unconditional condemnation of violence?
Of course, as you said, I belong to the Biradari which condemns violence per se. Many activists and common people, the majority of them take this position because they are for peace and they are for life and livelihood. And violence from either side really kills livelihoods, the natural resources on. But the state violence cannot be excused because that in the form of the wrong development paradigm that is killing communities, that is killing the sources of livelihood, and that is leading to the more and more of armed struggle by people, which is also a result of the state not responding to non-violent people.
But can I understand what you're saying? Why should an economic policy justify an armed struggle?
It shouldn't, but that is because the peaceful struggles which are for protecting the natural resources, for protecting the communities, with the mass basis, people's involvement is not responded to by the state. Because the state is hand in close with the corporates, with the international financial institutions and so on.
Okay.
And that's across the party regime.
How does any government proceed in these circumstances?
Well, I actually don't believe that you can talk to a man with an AK-47 in his hand. I don't think you can talk to somebody who comes to behead you. I'm against violence of any kind. I really don't believe, but I believe that the state has a right and is there to defend us from violence. The main problem is that the police forces across this country are incapable of defending India. If your police station looks like a garbage dump, which it usually does, you have no hope.
Your sister Anuradha became an underground Naxalite, as did her husband Kobad Gandhi, who is presently in jail. What made somebody like your sister embrace violence?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't put it so simply, because as you would realize that it's a long process. Her kind of politicization or a sense of awareness began a long time ago.
But as a brother, is that the route you would have wanted for her?
Well, our family is a fairly democratic family in the true sense. I think we were all particularly concerned that what she did was the right thing in her mind. That was very, very important. And
but no ethical questions for you personally about the use of armed struggle to make a point?
Of course.
There
Lots
are.
of ethical questions, of course. Of course, like anybody here. I don't think there's anybody here either on this side or that side of the divide who's actually justifying violence in a kind of an abstract sense, as you're putting it. It's very easy for us to sit here and be morally righteous about that. But for somebody who has to deal with that on a day-to-day basis, where the next moment is completely uncertain, it's very hard to, bring this kind of thing, abstract notion of, violence and non-violence. It's not like that. It's not as simple.
Tuba.com